the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Friday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig, Ty Bartelt. Do you think we should switch?
Yeah, we probably should. Let's get. I don't think any bad mojo happens when we're in these lanes, so I think we'll just stay.
We'll keep with the mojo. It is week 5. We have a big show today. We're going to preview all the matchups that are happening tonight and tomorrow. We also have a couple of interviews. We're going to start off with someone that kicked off week 5 on a Thursday night and got the 5th win of the season for Edison. It is Mike Colapi, head coach of the Edison Wildcats, who are now 5-0, and they pitched their 3rd shutout of the season. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Coach, I mean, just to start with this impressive start to the season, 5-0, but I mean, the defense is one thing I really want to highlight. You guys have allowed 18 points defensively this season. What are your takeaways from the defense? And I mean, I'm sure you got to be pleased with what you've seen on that front.
Well, our kids are playing extremely hard. I think we're playing physical. There's still, as a coach, there's still areas that we need to improve upon. But the effort is there. I believe we're getting to the football, and I feel like our kids are taking, every yard personal that we give up. There's just a lot of pride in our defense, which, anytime you got guys that are playing hard and that take things personal on the defensive side, it's a really good thing.
And you talk about pride in that defense. Is there an extra sense of pride for pitching shutouts? Because we see a lot of teams have really good defenses, and there are a lot of teams in the area that, are beating teams by a lot, but there aren't a lot of teams that have 3 shutouts. So is there like an added bonus for your players that, like, hey, not only do we want to beat these teams, we want to make sure that no points get scored on us, no matter who's out there on the field on defense?
Well, definitely. You never want to give up any points. But as the season goes on, like a coaching friend of mine told me, you're going to give up a drive, at least one drive a game, no matter who you play. It's what you do within that drive, and we have about every game we've the team has drove the field on us, whether they scored or whether we stopped them. Our philosophy is just keep getting back in the huddle. Our kids have done that. We want teams to be able to drive the length of the field on us, not give up any big plays, which for the most part we have. And I think it's a credit to a lot of our young guys because, for a good part of our first 5 games, they've come into the game, with us being in the lead, and they haven't given up any points either.
Coach, you guys got the win last night, but it also allows you to have the opportunity to do a little bit of scouting of your opponent for next week, too. Of course, Toronto going to be in action this week. We, of course, know the boys need their rest after a nice win like this, but I'm sure you're already thinking about that next week opponent. What are some of the things you're thinking about heading into that matchup with Toronto, who currently is 4-0?
Well, first and foremost, they have a lot of speed, which – there's a lot of things you can coach and you can improve upon, but when you have kids that can run or you have big kids, those are things that you either have or you don't, and they have speed, which is a concern on the defensive side of the ball. For us, they run a lot of multiple offensive sets. They like to get their guys that can make plays the ball. And as I said, they have speed. So, that's definitely a concern. Defensively, they're very aggressive. They like to bring pressure. They have a lot of bigger players that I believe are getting, a lot of Division I looks. So that's something that, when you have players like that, that you're playing against, you have to make sure that, your kids know that not that they already don't know, but it's something that you get excited for, but at the same time, like you said, at the end of last night, we weren't there very very long in the locker room, and we already started talking about Toronto.
As good as your defense is playing, your offense is putting in work too. Gage Klein had a great night last night, 4 total touchdowns, 3 in the air, 1 on the ground. What have you seen from him in this offense that have really made you proud of their growth this year?
Well, I think it starts up front with our offensive line. Our offensive line has done a really good job. They're very tight knit group of kids. They take a lot of pride in what they have to do. They realize that anybody that's ever played offensive line, there's no glory in it. I mean, you're not going to get your name in the paper or anything like that. And I think our wide receivers have done a really good job of doing what we asked them to do, whether it's block, route running. And I think Gage is really given us steady leadership. And our offensive coaches, Coach Piro, who's our offensive coordinator, Coach Fogel, and Coach Marcino are our line coaches, and Coach Nolan Marcus, who has the receivers. I think they've done a good job with their individual positions. Coach Angelini's done a good job with our running backs. Football's a team game, and it's never just one person, whether it's a player or as a coach. I think, collectively we've all worked really well together.
I know you, like most coaches, always want to look on what you guys can improve on, even with riding the highs of a 5-0 start. So in looking at these first 5 weeks midway through the season, what are some improvements that you think need to be had going into the second half of the season?
Penalties. We've had a lot of penalties. And those are things as a coach, they bug you. Usually when you're committing penalties, it's a fundamental thing. Whether it's blocking or blocking or having issues on offense, maybe where you're holding. Those are all things that as a coaching staff, we have to limit. I think we've improved in the area of special teams, but I think there's a lot of areas to improve there on every phase of the special team unit. Defensively, I think we have to continue to do what we do better, do it better than we're doing right now. There's still some alignment and some assignment breakdowns, which, we correct, every day after our game, and those are improving, but it's not where we need to be. As a coach, I don't know. I never go home thinking of what we did. I think of what we could have done and what we didn't do well. So those are all things that are going to be continue points of emphasis so that we continue to improve.
You're a coach that has a Friday night off, unlike a lot of coaches in the state of Ohio. So what are you going to do this Friday night? What are your plans for this Friday night that you don't have a game?
Well, we're going to, after school, we're going to break down film with the kids, get them stretched out. Then after that, we're going to go, our coaching staff is going to go take a look at a couple games, around, since we're able to, to see them. And then tomorrow, get back in it. Coaches will come in, get our game plan ready for week 6, make sure we have all our ducks in a row so we can hit the ground running on Monday.
To kind of piggyback off of Anthony's comment, I mean, through these first 5 weeks, it seems like you guys have played anything but a Friday night game. Only one, I think, on the schedule. A couple Thursday nights, a couple Saturday afternoons. Do you think there's going to be an added benefit the second half of the season, having a little bit more consistency playing, it looks like, strictly Friday night games now?
Well, that's a question that I think I've answered a few different times, from different media organizations. And the answer is real simple. I mean, we just play our schedule as it is. And as things come up, you make adjustments. You have a plan going into the week. That plan may be a little bit different depending on when you play, whether you move the days up or you move the days, forward or back. You just make the adjustments. And we're not using, whatever day we play on as an excuse or alibi. We play the hand you're dealt, as Coach Bain, my old football coach, used to tell us. Just play the hand you're dealt. Make sure all your ducks in a row and make sure you're ready to go.
All right, Coach, before we let you go, I'm interested in this because, of course, football season started 1 week earlier, and there are several weeks that happen before the kids even get into school. So how have your kids handled the transition, whenever it happened for Edison, of going from still summer vacation during football to all of a sudden having to deal with going to class every day, going to class on a game day, getting out of class, going to a football game, and still, obviously keeping business in order because you guys are 5-0?
Well, I think they've done a really good job. That's a credit to them. We try to make that adjustment, a transition where you don't necessarily go from being in the mornings all the time to all of a sudden the first day of school you're in the afternoon. So we started afternoon practices, our game week. So when we were in school for the first day, it wasn't the first day that we were in, practicing at 3:00. So that's a credit to them. And obviously, they're teenagers. So obviously the first day of school is always a little bit different because they're used to, even if we do adjust practice time and start later, they're at home versus being at school for 6.5, 7 hours and then having to go to practice. But like I said, I feel like our practices have been good. They have to continue to be good. They have to be better. I think we as a coaching staff have to continue to demand alignment assignment football on both sides of the ball. And I think the kids where we're at now is not where we need to be. So we have to take that mindset of improve daily and put it to work.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the 5-0 start, the win last night, and good luck in Toronto next week. Hopefully we're talking about 6-0 after the battle with the Red Knights.
It's going to be a battle for sure. They're extremely well coached. Like I said, they have a lot of good players, and we have to be prepared.
All right, Coach, good luck, and we'll see you again real soon.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Coach Golopi joining us on Running Point to start off the show. What a good way to start on this wonderful Friday as we venture into week 5. They're already in week 5, and we've talked about,
they already completed week 5 technically. They already checked it.
They kicked off week 5 with a 34-0 win over Central Catholic last night, and that is the third shutout their defense has pitched this season. They have outscored teams. I didn't do the math yet, but it's a lot to none. They've only given up 18 points all season in 5 games played. So
right.
If you do the math, I'm going to do it real quick. 18 divided by 5. That is what? 3.6 points per game. I mean, it's ridiculous.
A little bit more than a field goal.
You can, a Steubenville Catholic and only won 1 game going in, so you can sit here and hark on their schedule and say they haven't played anybody yet. But you brought it up pregame. They have 1 team with a pair of really good wins on their schedule. And I don't care who you're playing. There are a lot of teams that are playing bad schedules that aren't shutting out teams, right? They're still giving up a couple of garbage time points or whatever it may be,
right?
42-7, 54-14, whatever it may be. Edison is shutting down teams even with their second team defense during blowouts.
Wellsville is 2-2 and Matthews is 3-1. Their only losses to Edison. So every win that Matthews gets looks even better on Edison's case than if their only loss is to the Wildcats.
By the way, Matthews has scored the most on Edison with 10.
Yeah.
And that Matthews offense came into that game scoring 113 in their last 2.
That's going to be – and, I mean, they absolutely – yeah, you're right. They put it on the teams that they face. They're going to be facing Madonna, not the singer, but they're going to be facing Madonna tonight. That'd be pretty wild. The whole Matthews team just going up against Madonna.
They better have a Madonna playlist. That's all.
Weirton, West Virginia. The Blue Dawns is what they're facing.
The Blue Dawns. What is that?
Yeah. It looks like.
Guess the mascot. What do you think it is?
I think it's gonna be like.
You're looking at it, so you.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at it.
I'm not even looking. I just have to guess.
Guess for it, because I already think.
A Blue Dawn.
I haven't zoomed in yet, but I think I know what it is. What do you think it is?
A Blue Dawn. Oh. Something tells me it's some kind of bird. Blue bird.
It's actually not. It's a knight. It's a knight. It looks like there's a knight with a sword and a shield. and it's Dons under it. So it has to do something with probably the Blue Dons were probably some sort of group too. Hashtag
right.
we don't know our history, but well,
Never like I do know my like I am kind of I pride myself on being a history buff, and I get history questions right a lot on Jeopardy, but I've never heard of the Blue Dons.
hey,
I'll have to do
learn
some
something new
research.
every day. But that's who Matthews is playing. They're undefeated right now, Blue Dons, and that's going to be interesting. We're going to be looking at that game too, because like we said, our team YSN team Edison has a win against that Matthews Mustang team, and the only loss on Matthews' schedule is to Edison.
I believe going into last night, Edison was 4th in the computer rankings in Division 5, Region 17.
I believe you are correct too.
So that's only going to climb them up. And if they beat Toronto next week, they could be flirting with a top 3 seed in those playoffs. Ty, without further ado, let's get into our action. The YSN slate tonight. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24 games if I count right. I
Just
can't not count out loud.
round
I'm
one,
sorry.
2 dozen games.
And we'll start this is in alphabetical order based on the away team. Brookfield at Campbell. Campbell was the victim of a very frustrated Crestview team last week, and it doesn't get any easier for the Red Devils with Brookfield coming to town.
I was going to piggyback right off of you and say it does not get any easier. And that's exactly what we're going to see in tonight's matchup, because Camel, with one win on the season, too, looking to grab another one, grab a conference victory as well. First conference victory of the season, but they're going to have to do so against a very tough Brookfield team who, ever since week 1 against Ursuline, they took one on the chin against a very good Irish squad with a very good offense, and they've kind of locked in, it seems like, ever since that point, and they haven't looked back.
By the way, I want to remind people that on the comment section, they're open. If you have thoughts or picks or anything about these games that we're talking about, we would love to hear from you. Ty, I don't think I'm shocking people by saying that on paper this is just a mismatch between Brookfield and Camel. But what I want to see while we're talking on Camel's side, I just want to see a little bit more fight, right? A little bit more fight. Show a little bit more, tenacity in your scheme. Grow a little bit. Show us that you grew from that loss in Crestview and you were able to take some stuff and you were able to learn some lessons. Because I just it hurts to see teams lose 65-0. It's not exactly fun. So hopefully Camel took some lessons from that and they come out with some fight in them. They're a proud football program. We talked to their coach before the season. They think they have players in the right positions to win. They just have to execute their game plan, and hopefully Camel can show a little bit more fight.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see for the Red Devils tonight, as we've already seen Brookfield knock down Blue Devils prior to with Western Reserve, so they're trying to add another Devil under their belt.
Matt Morrison on the call for that one at 7 o'clock from Camel. By the way, whatever Camel's record ends up being, they have one of the most beautiful facilities in the area, and they can put their hats on that.
Just to say, too, Camel, outside of that loss to Crestview, too, their other 2 losses are to 2 4-0 teams in Valley Christian and Lowville. So, I mean, they've been playing good football teams.
And this is
Camel.
This is a Brookfield team that if they played anybody else except Ursuline, they'd probably be 4-0.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Ursuline a tough draw in week 1, but it definitely was. I think week 3 was really what impressed me. They beat Springfield too, which was a great game, 27-14. They got that monkey off their back. But I think coming up against Western Reserve and beating them 47-3 in the fashion that they did, I think that just opened eyes, I think, for Brookfield overall. And it really made me start paying attention to the Warriors. And they've been rolling, only allowing 3 points against Western Reserve, 6 against Liberty, 14 against Springfield. So since that Ursuline game, defense is locked in.
Ty, the next one is the game that a lot of people are talking about. It's been kind of toped as one of the best games on the network tonight. Canfield at Cheney, Rain Stadium, 7 o'clock start time. Ricky Giuliano will have the call from Cheney. This game did not go the Cowboys' way last year. They were just out-muscled, out-physical. I know this roster looks a lot different, and they can't look at last year's tape and maybe learn a lot from it, but you got to think in that locker room And we talked about this with Richie on Wednesday. One of the emphases is it emphases?
I just think it's emphasis. I think
Okay.
you just put
One of the emphasis on this week's game for Cheney has to be, if we lose, we will not lose because we were not the most physical team on the field. That's got to be a stamp, because last year Canfield just outmuscled them. Now, from the kickoff, it was clear that Canfield was the more physical team last year. And from this Cheney team's perspective, who has been an extremely big physical football team and looking to push people around, they got to come into this game saying, if we happen to lose this game, it will not be because Canfield pushed us around.
And that's been the case we've seen with a lot of Cheney games this season. Offensively, they've looked like they've gone out there and just out-physicaled anybody that stands in their way. And I've been really impressed with this Cheney team. And honestly, if you really kind of want to get a little bit in-depth with the Cheney Cowboys, you gotta go check out Steve Leslie's player profiles with both LeBron Dunlow and Rolando Bruno, too. He did a great job. They were down at Hackett's, too. I watched that full interview yesterday, and Steve always does a great job in his player profile interviews with a lot of the Steel Valley Conference teams. And talking with those Cheney kids, they remember that game from last year. They remembered how it ended, and they see this as kind of a revenge game for them to kind of showcase that, hey, we are in that same conversation with the Canfield Cardinals. We are to be taken serious in this Division III, and they've talked about hopes for state and making that run to state. I tell you what, there's a lot of great teams in the area from D3, and I think whoever makes it out of this region has a very good chance at making it to state.
Do you think this is a possible, playoff rematch that we see down the line?
It could be, man, but I mean, you just look at Division III. Canfield's 1 and Cheney is 3 in Region 9 right now, by the way, with Gilmore Academy separating them at 2. Chardon is 4, by the way, too, after their lots. But there's other teams that we've seen. Geneva's one we've gotten introduced to with Ashtabula and Forfaro and Gold Boys. They're number 8. Ursuline, number 9, too. You know they're dangerous no matter where they're at in this whole top 16 teams. And then you look down at some other teams that can also get in. There's also teams that are just on the outside looking in. Aurora's in it right now. Louisville's been a solid team that we've seen. They're number 19 right now. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin's number 18 right now. They always make a push. They're always tough in everything that they do. New Philadelphia, number 13. Like, this is just a very good region. And Division III, Region 9. It's going to be a gauntlet to get through. But I think you talk about teams. Ursuline, I think, has a great chance. Cheney, Canfield, they all have a great chance of coming out of it.
When you talk about Canfield, they're a team that they have had road tests. I'm not saying they haven't been on the road yet this season. It's not like they've played at home every week, but they don't have a lot of road tests. This is one of the ones that they have on the season. So they get to kind of test their mettle on the road today. I'm looking at people outside of Brock Lowry that don't get talked about, and we talked about it with Richie, who is the head man over there in Canfield. He knows everything about him. Danny Inglis is just putting on a show. He's up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley, and I think he's been sneaking under the waves of Brock Lowry. When everyone says we have to stop number 12, they forget about number 11 right there next to him.
Really, what Canfield's done well is through the first few weeks, they've beaten up on some of Division 4's best teams right now, West Branch, Bellevue, Poland. Now they're going to play one of Division 3's best, same region in Cheney, and it doesn't get any easier because next week they play a Dover team that's 4-0 currently, and they're one of the best in Division 2. We know about that Dover team. We've seen them play Boardman. We've seen them play Fitch. They've had run-ins with those teams, and they've had run-ins with D3 teams too. I think they were D3 last year as well.
Yeah, because Dover's been a mainstay on Canfield's schedule. Last year they went to Dover, I think.
Yeah. Dover's been on their Tornadoes, if I'm not mistaken. Crimson.
They're either the Tornado. They might be the Red Tornadoes, Ty.
Are they the Red Tornado? I thought they were Crimson Tornadoes.
Crimson, you might be right. I think I knew they were a color.
They are Tornado. It just says Dover Tornadoes on I tell, but I don't know. They could be Crimson Tornadoes.
Maybe they're right. I trust Joey.
But 2 4-0 teams that are right now slated on Canfield's schedule. So they got 2 really good teams that they're going to be playing both in their division and up 1 too. So this is huge games for Canfield.
There's a lot of conversation in those power rankings, Canfield flipping spots, but They go 2-0 in the next two. Do you think they just flip right
Oh,
back?
I think if they win this game against Cheney, I think there's an argument to put them right back at the top spot.
Right, because look, we'll talk about this Fitch game later when they pop up on our slate, but we don't know a lot about this team that they're playing. Like, it's hard to gauge.
Yeah,
And if we go by other teams that have come out of state to play our team so far, it's not going to look pretty because like, the team from Canada hadn't played football since 19. They looked lost in the water, and this team from Vegas that Fitch brought in, you could tout them as really good. Whatever, they just didn't look like they had anything to do with that game at all.
This Louis J. Bennett team's going to be interesting when they come into town from Buffalo, New York, the Tigers. I'm excited to see. They have played a team semi-local, actually, and they lost in an overtime game to McDowell from Erie, PA, first game of the season in a 34-28 overtime loss. They're 1-1 season.
I just want to see a team come from out of state and actually put up a fight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Honestly, we look at their season last year too. For Louis J. Bennett, they were 11-2 last year. They put up a lot of good shutout victories too. It looks like, I think if I had my number correct, 4-2, including one playoffs shutout. They went on a big run in the playoffs too before losing to Carmel in December 4th too. And I think they made it, if I'm not mistaken, to the state Final Four. Like I said, this was a really good team a year ago. Obviously, teams change from year to year. I don't know what exactly we're bringing in this year. We're able to look at some of the stats. They have a solid quarterback and quarterback play, and they also have a couple of good receivers too. Just to pull up the names on these guys.
Don't use all your bullets before we get to the game.
Yeah, just to pull up the names, though, I just wanted to talk about the one quarterback for them as well. Yeah, Antonio Davis is a senior, so I think that is one of the returners for this year for this Jay Bennett team. So it's going to be interesting.
We move on to the next game on the slate, and it is Chagrin Falls at Orange. Connor Richardson will have the call there from Orange, and we've been introduced to this Orange football team the last couple of weeks if they've been on the network. Their defense is good. I think their defense scheme-wise has been putting up some quality stuff. Like teams like Louisville, and maybe you could throw Hubbard into this mix too, with defenses that are doing solid work with offenses that are struggling to find identities, and that's what seems like is Orange's hold up right now.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going to be a battle for the king of the jungle, if I'm not mistaken, because it's the Orange Lions going up against Chagrin Falls. Chagrin Falls, actually, the Tigers were a solid team a year ago, 5-5, which, I mean, right at that 500 mark. They're going to go into this season. They're 2-2 right now. They're playing Chagrin Falls at 2-2, so Chagrin Falls kind of on pace to go with another 500 season. I'm interested to see, like you said, Ant, defense has looked good in some weeks, but offense need to get some production. They actually had their best offensive week against Edgewood last week, where they were able to put up 21 points of offense. But yeah, definitely going to need to find some offense in this cat battle between Tigers and Lions.
Champion goes to La Brea as the Flashes are red hot right now. They get the win over Newton Falls last week and the win over Southeast 2 weeks ago. Really, you could argue that Rootstown game was their turnaround. I mean, obviously JFK came in and did what JFK was going to do to them in week one. But then Rootstown, even though they lost that game, they feel like they left a win on the table. They got momentum from that game. They went in, they beat up Southeast, who beat them in overtime last year. And then they win a thriller in Newton Falls. So Champion riding a really big hot streak right now, and they will go into a La Brea team that is trying to figure things out. So a big opportunity for Champion to win their third in a row.
It absolutely is a huge opportunity for Champion. And if you look in that D5 and how that whole Division 5 Region 17 shaking out, Champion right now at 14. So they're in the playoff picture right now, need to be in that top 16. After dropping the first 2 weeks in a heartbreaker against Reachtown, like you said, they've won the last two. They have a chance to go for 3 in a row against La Brea. And I think that game against Newton Falls, if we were to talk with Coach Conrad, I really want to ask him too. After they got that huge play, that 99-yard runoff, we never really get to talk with those side of the coaches too. And what do you tell a team after allowing a big play like that on defense? How do you get them back into focus? How do you get them refocused? And because they were able to, Champion was able to refocus. They were able to get a big win because those are momentum turning plays when they happen. And being able to refocus, credit Coach Conrad and that whole coaching staff and the team as well for focusing up and getting the big win last week.
We are going to talk with Joey Fell and Nick Vesey from that team a little bit later on the show. Joey Fell will come on at 1:30 and his teammate Nick Vesey will be after. So we're going to hold off. We're going to give a little bit more from that game back at 1:30 and hear from Champion's point of view. Joey Fell, by the way, one of the quarterbacks not being talked about nearly enough, but he is up for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. Make sure to go to ysnlive.com/big dogs. Cast your vote for any of the players that you see on the list. Voting is unlimited and ends on Sunday at midnight. We go to the next game on our slate. Columbiana traveling to Southern, still looking for Coach Spate's 200th career victory. It'll be a tough one in Salineville. Joe Eusebio making the trip with the Clippers. By the way, Brian Oatridge will have the call for that Champion LeBray game in LeBray. I forgot to give him a shout out. But Columbiana at Southern, Joe Eusebio with the call. This is Southern's opportunity to kind of put a stamp in the EOAC and get another big win for themselves.
There's been some heartbreakers on Columbiana's schedule, too. A tough loss to Wellsville last week, a really tough loss to McDonald in week 2. But they got a tough 3 weeks ahead of them because after Southern, you go United, then you go Valley. So you go through the trifecta that's usually competing for the top of that EOAC. You have to go through all of them.
Ty, that's what makes those 2 losses in games they really could have won really tough, because now you go into these games without a win on the schedule, and it's a high mountain to climb to try to beat any of these teams. And you're staring down the barrel of that'd be an 0-7 start to the season.
It would be tough because then they finish the season with East Palestine, Latonia, and then Lisbon. And honestly, that East Palestine team now, it's no longer one of those teams one of those games where you can look at as, okay, this might be a very winnable.
Oh yeah, it's not automatic win anymore.
No, not.
I think even Wellsville's looking at them tonight going, this East Palestine team just dropped 34. I know it was against Latonia who's struggling right now, but I don't care who you're playing. You drop 34 against a team when you have been struggling yourself on offense. Maybe that's a momentum boost. That'll be an interesting game to talk about when we get there. But Columbiana in a tough stretch. They have 3 games in a row against the top tier of their conference, and it starts tonight with Southern. It'll be interesting to see what kind of fight they put up against the Indians. And we go right from that to the game we were about to talk about anyway, because the next one on the slate is East Palestine traveling to Wellsville. This will tell me a lot about East Palestine's football program, because they got the win against a struggling Latonia football program. Can they handle victory inside that locker room? Because they haven't had to do that last year, right? They were 0-10 last year. 2 years ago, they won against St. John a little bit late in the season. How do they handle victory? I'm very interested to see what kind of work they put in this week. If they were able to stay even after the big win over Latonia, first home win since 2018, were they able to stay even and get prepared for this game in Wellsville? It'll be very interesting because Wellsville is a team, they've played in close games. They've only blown out one team this year. So you got to think that the Bulldogs will be in this game with chances to win.
For sure. And I mean, if you beat Wellsville, then all of a sudden home against Lisbon next week starts looking like a much more accomplishable task then for the East Palestine Bulldogs. And honestly, 3 of the next 4 games, they got Wellsville, Lisbon, then United, then Columbiana. There's a very real possibility that you can see East Palestine, if they could win 3 out of the next 4 games, which, I mean, you start to look at the way that they've played too after playing in a very close one to Campbell Memorial, comparative to what they did the season prior, and then also going up back to week 1 against Malvern. That's a 4-0 Malvern team right now.
Yeah, and look, you can poo-poo on Campbell all you want because they've been blown out. They've been the butt of some jokes. I get it. They have 1 win that was against East Palestine, but you said it. Campbell's schedule is a gauntlet, right? They got undefeated Lowville, undefeated Valley Christian, and they just played Crestview, who is probably the best winless team going into last week that we have in the area.
Crestview was also a team, I believe, that lost to what? 2 teams that had one team. Salem had 1 loss at the time. The other 2 teams were undefeated. And
Salem was undefeated because that was the first game of the year. Well, everyone was undefeated, but Salem didn't lose till last week.
That's right. So technically, until last week, every single team was undefeated that Crestview lost to.
Right. So I think Camel's better than their record looks. So I think that 21-14, you could look at that and be like, well, East Palestine really lost in a game against a winless team that they should have, But I think Camel's a little bit better than their 0-4 record says. So I think playing with Camel was actually a good thing for East Palestine. And now they have their first win of the season, first win since 2020, first home win since 2018. They're riding a lot of momentum. And like I said, I'm interested to see how much, they really put in this week in preparation and how well they go into Wellsville prepared for a win, because I think they can win this game.
Coach Dempster, it's going to be interesting, too, of how he's going to get those guys to make sure that they are focused up for this game. It's an away game, too, so it's a tough task. But I think, as DJ would even say, too, I think it comes into just taking it in chunks and taking it a little bit at a time. Of course, we can look ahead because we're the media, but for Coach Dempster, they're looking at Wellsville, and they're solely focused on the Tigers. But the big thing is for this week, taking it in chunks, if we're talking about that. You win this week. Like I said, Lisbon then all of a sudden starts looking like a game that, okay, we can win this game. We have a chance against Lisbon. Then if you do it then United starts looking like, okay, maybe we have a chance. And then, that's how momentum can build. But stay focused within this week. I'm excited to see what the Bulldogs can do against the Tigers going away to Wellsville.
If you missed last week's Joe Dickey Electric Scoreboard show, DJ was asked about this win for East Palestine because obviously he's an East Palestine grad. Our headquarters are in East Palestine for a reason. It's Stream City. But he didn't hold any punches. He said, guys, we're proud with the win. We can celebrate it. It's a great moment for the football program, not taking away from it. But he said, what I'm looking for is don't hang your hats on that one win, because now you've kind of proven that you can go win football games. Go and do it, right? Go put in the work and do it. The work's not done because you beat a struggling Latonia team. So I think he does. I think I mirror that sentiment. Like, let's see East Palestine put in the work after winning against Latonia and proving to themselves and everybody else that they can win football games against, pretty quality opponents like Wellsville.
And Wellsville, a solid football team that has 2 wins in the last 2 weeks, and their 2 losses, a 4-0 Toronto team in week 1 and a 5-0 Edison team in week 2. So their losses come to a combined 9-0 record in those 2 teams.
Talk about Camel's schedule.
That's
Wellsville's schedule has been a gauntlet too.
A tough schedule right there with them. But yeah, this is definitely a case where it can be a winnable game for East Palestine, and for Wellsville to look at it from the Tigers' perspective, a chance to go 3-2. Now you can really start planning second half of the season. This is week 5 now, midway point. 3-2 allows you to have a lot more opportunities. I think it's getting into that playoff spot, top 16, than 2-3 does. So Wellsville, this is a big game for them tonight.
How about Pat Santor? He's going on the call for Lakeview in this game. Gerard at Lakeview. I think coming into the season, you look at this game on the schedule and go, now all of a sudden you come into this game like, oh my, this is important in NE8 standings. This is like legit game. This is prime time. Lakeview has shocked the world. They have come out on a storm. They've gone from 0-10 to 3-1 so far. They beat Niles in Niles last week. They have a home game against Girard, who looked really good against Jefferson. They shut down that Jefferson offense. But the difference in these 2 matchups, when you look at what Girard did against Jefferson and what Girard could do against Lakeview, Lakeview is more of a defensive-minded team, right? Jefferson came in with a high-flying offense. They were probably going to rely on their offense to win games. And Girard kind of shut their offense down, right? 6 points. Jefferson's not going to win scoring 6 points. Most teams, other than Edison, aren't going to win scoring 6 points, right? So now you're dealing with the Lakeview team that doesn't really rely on their offense. They rely on their defense, right? Their defense wins games. Their offense does enough to support that defense. They're a well-rounded football team. And Girard didn't look like their offense was world beaters against Jefferson. Their defense left some holes in Girard's offense. It was only 21 points they put up. So I think Lakeview's probably watching that Jefferson tape, taking some notes and saying, there are ways to slow down this offense, and if we do, we will have chances to win this game. I think the big key for Lakeview is, can their offense make big plays when their defense makes stops, and that's what it'll come down to.
This is going to be a huge game because I think the winner of this game, you got to start looking at as being maybe one of those top contenders then for a conference championship.
Look, everyone's high on Girard for right reasons. If Lakeview goes and beats them, then crown Lakeview as the team that is going to be contenders in the NE8. Like that's it. That you can argue about, but that's it. You beat the team that everyone's saying is gonna compete with South Range. You go and beat them. All of a sudden, you're that team, right?
And don't get me wrong, I love me that duo of Bengala and Palmer. I think they are dangerous, and I think Girard too. And you look at these 3 weeks; they've been nothing but impressive. Win against Streetsboro, win against Liberty, win against Ellet, win against Jefferson. But I don't know. It just feels like this Lakeview team. I mean, we know now we know it's different, but it just feels like there's almost a different feeling traveling to Cortland now. And this being a home game for Lakeview too, after coming off of a big win on the road last week against Niles, got their first NE8 win on the road against the Red Dragons. You get to go in front of that Cortland crowd that is going to be absolutely nuts for this homecoming game against Girard. I tell you what, it's going to be a tough place to play for the Indians, but they proved they can do it against Jefferson. They're going to need to do it against the Bulldogs.
We talked to Nolan Toth earlier this week on Running Point, and man, from his perspective and what it sounded like, this locker room is Crestview was loud, upset versus Camel, right? They were loud, frustrated. They were loud, mad. I think Lakeview's the opposite. They're kind of quiet, mad. They're just a team that's like, okay, we were 0-10. We're ticked off about it. We want to go show everybody that wasn't us, and they're not making a lot of noise about it. They're not killing teams, obviously. They're just frustrated about the way last year went, and they're going about their business.
I think Chris Ziegler's right on the money with that trap game alert for Girard if you're looking ahead to that South Range battle next week.
I think so too. And usually you wouldn't say trap game against a 3-1 team, right? But I think there's still this mystique around Lakeview that, okay, they've gotten a couple of nice wins, but I think some teams might mistakenly think, or some of these kids actually might mistakenly think, but they're still Lakeview. Come on, right?
You got to be honest, non-conference slate in those 3 games, their 2 wins came against 0-4 teams right now. I think that them pushing Garfield and giving Garfield all they had was what impressed me, but it didn't sell everybody. I think
Niles. Did Niles sell you?
Yeah, I think a lot more people got sold on the Red Dragons one. I was sold on Lakeview after their first loss against Garfield when it was a 17-7 game, and then they came right back and got a win against Liberty. I think a lot more people are sold after they got their first conference win and another great defensive game against the Red Dragons. You do it against Girard, I don't think there's going to be a soul that's not a believer in the Bulldogs in this NE8.
First conference win since 2019 when they beat Jefferson. And caveat, that game was in Jefferson. So since the NE8 was formed, Lakeview does not have a home conference win. So they're looking for their first
opportunity for them as well. And they only have 3 home games left on the season, one with Girard, one with Poland on October 7th, and one with Jefferson on October 21st. All other conference games away, so that includes Struthers, Hubbard, and South Range.
If you're on Girard's side, Ty, I think it is of the utmost importance that you set the tone early and you put your foot on the gas pedal. You cannot give this up-and-coming Lakeview team reasons to think they can beat you late. You let them stick around, you let them hang around, then this could easily become an upset special. But if Girard just comes out and puts their foot on the throat and just steps on it, then that's what they have to do. They can't be messing around. They got to make sure that they go up, they score fast, and they set the tone early. Because in a game like this, like Sigler said, in a trap game, if you let the other team stick around for a little bit and keep gathering hope that they can beat you, then they just might do that.
I mean, I want to see what I saw the first 3 weeks from Girard when they were putting up 40 points. I think it's a little bit scary looking at last week that a team like Jefferson that was so highly touted offensively held Girard to their season low as 21 points on offense too. And I mean, I know it was still a big win, credit Gerard where it's due, but I feel like there was some things to be taken away if you're Lakeview, which is a defensive-minded team. When you look at what Jefferson was doing well, knowing the kind of size and speed the Bulldogs have, you might have a little bit of a blueprint to go off of from last week's game.
Yeah, there's some things that Jefferson did on defense that worked against Gerard, and I think Lakeview can look at that film and say, how can we use that to find things that we can do that'll work against Gerard? You're not going to stop them completely. Their offense is too good. You're not going to shut them out, but you have to be able to. I think if Lakeview holds them under 24 points, they have a really good chance to win this game.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Chris is saying too. It's going to be a playoff type atmosphere for Lakeview because they're going to be.
It's going to be the first time that stadium has been able to say we have a playoff type atmosphere, right? Like, it's weird. It's going to feel cool in Lakeview. It's a good time to be a Bulldog. Volleyball team's number 1 in the power rankings, undefeated, and your football team has a playoff atmosphere game in week 5.
Gerard's going to need to match that intensity, but they're going to that first quarter, and you're right, it's going to be how they start because that Lakeview crowd, they're going to be there, they're going to be rumbling, they're going to be ready to explode on anything.
Right, you got to silence it.
Yeah, you're going to have to come in and try to silence that. Whether that, I don't know what that mindset's going to be. If you defer the kicker, you take that. You take it and try to score.
I know normally you defer. That's like the go-to. But I want to set the tone. I want to give my offense the ball, and I want to score first in this game.
You gotta do something, I think, to silence that crowd because that crowd is going to be coming in, every single one of them on the edge of their seats. They're going to be ready to cheer. They're going to be ready to get loud at anything, and that's exactly what we're going to be. That's the atmosphere you're going to be feeling for Lakeview. And if Lakeview wins this game right now, sitting at 12th in their respective conference standings down in D5, they can definitely make a jump with a big win against number 1 team D4.
Here's another reason why I would want to take the ball in the opening kickoff for Gerard. Lakeview is not an offensive-minded team, so if you go and you stop them, it's not going to feel like a deflation for the momentum. Like they've been stopped. They're not an offense that goes out and rips the ball down the field. So I feel like if Gerard deferred, kicked the ball off, and maybe got like a 3-and-out or maybe 1 first down, then forced Lakeview to punt, it wouldn't feel as monumentous or as momentum building as it would if Gerard took the kickoff and just went right down and scored.
There's the most points that this Lakeview defense has allowed was 17 to Garfield.
Right.
And Garfield is a pretty damn good football team. So
different monster for Gerard. I think they're more well-rounded as an offense than Garfield. They can throw the ball pretty well.
This is going to be multi-dimensional on the offensive side, but I've really have been impressed with the defense, and I think you're right. It's going to come down to defense. Gerard, though, also, if they get that opening kickoff, the thing for Gerard, that might be their best opportunity or their most wide open opportunity to grab a touchdown because I feel like hitting pay dirt's going to come few and far between in this game, and it's going to be at a premium when you can score a touchdown. So for Gerard, if they can get one quick on the board, put up 7 points, that would be huge, I think, momentum-wise for the Indians.
It would give Lakeview a lot of momentum if they came out and stopped Gerard after they took the kickoff.
But yeah, that's the trade-off because if you stop Gerard, then the control's in your hands because then you also have that second half kickoff then in your back pocket, and then you could play the time game, which Lakeview has been doing tremendously these last few weeks, is just running that clock.
That's definitely the risk reward you take when you make that decision to take the ball or defer. It's going to be interesting to see what Coach Pearson does if they win the coin toss tonight. Coach
Pearson does a great job. Coach Bellino's done a fantastic job with this Bulldog.
We got to get him on one day.
Yeah. Shout out Bellino.
We'd love to talk to him about turning around this program. When we come back, we're going to take our first break of the day. We still have a lot of football to talk about, a lot of games from week 5 to talk about. Don't forget that Joey Fell coming on at 1:30 and Nick Vesey coming on at 1:45 as well on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
as fine as the eye can see. The finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but two 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. We have a lot more football to get to today, and we left off with Girard and Lakeview. By the way, Pat Santar on the call for that 7 o'clock kickoff in Cortland. We go from there to Harrison Central, traveling to East Liverpool as the Potters try to get their first win on the Patterson Field turf. They were beat by Beaver Local last week. Harrison Central comes in with a quality football program as well, so it will not be easy for East Liverpool to get the win.
No, not at all. But, you look at what the Potters have done, too. They are 1-3 on the season, but they're going to be going up against a 3-1 Harrison Central team. So it's going to be interesting as usual. This is usually a very good Harrison Central team, and I know McNuggies is one of those guys that probably knows a ton about those teams right down there on that West Virginia border. But every time I've seen Harrison Central, they've always been competitive, no matter who it is that they're facing from the Buckeye 8 region or when they're going across to West Virginia as well. They've always been competitive, it seems like, throughout the seasons, and it's no different this year.
Well, Potter fans, though, you didn't have to wait too long to have someone win on that Patterson field. Although football lost last week, the soccer team got the first win on that Patterson field turf on, I believe, Tuesday night when they actually hosted, hey, guess who? Harrison Central. So maybe that's a good omen for your football team as Harrison Central comes in to try to play some American football on that turf.
Yeah, this is gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see what Harrison Central is gonna be able to do. Their 3 wins came against Claymont, Buckeye Trail, and then Perry Traditional Academy in PA. They lost to Union Local last week, though, their first loss of the season. So we'll see what they're going to be able to do. Their opponents that they have wins, though, against a combined record right now, it looks like of 2-9 through their 3 wins. So it'll be, I think it's a chance for East Liverpool to maybe showcase what they got this season, too. And, there's only one way to go after a loss like last week, and that's up for East Liverpool. You kind of just take that tape, you burn it, you never want to think about it again. Let's go out and play some football. Week 5, let's go.
Next, we have Jefferson trying to bounce back from their first inning loss to Girard, and they go to Niles. Ian O'Brien will have the call there. By the way, Tommy P's on the call in East Liverpool for the 7 o'clock kickoff for that one. When you look at this Jefferson Niles team, they're both bouncing back from their first loss of the conference play. I think it's going to be who bounces back harder, right? Jefferson, this happened to them last year. They played Girard, they lost, and then they kind of snowballed into a really rough NE8 slate for them, to be honest. So I think this year they got to put an emphasis on not letting that happen and not letting one loss turn into 2 as they travel the Niles.
It's gonna, and this is also teams that are in the same division and region as well. So Jefferson is sitting at 3 still, even with the loss last week. They're sitting at 3. It goes Girard, West Branch, Jefferson, Salem. That's the top 4 teams in Region 13 for Division 4. You look at Niles, though, they're sitting at number 18. So you think that the Niles Red Dragons are going to be a little bit upset coming off of a loss. They're also going to be upset because of where they're ranked. They're going to want to get themselves into those top 16 rankings to get themselves into a playoff picture.
Sorry, Stewie. You missed Canfield versus Cheney. We've already talked about
it. We talked about it. It'll be talked about in length. It'll be on.
Catch on the Power Hour. Catch on Casual Sports Podcast. Catch on the Audible Call.
We'll be
talking a lot more.
And we'll have it live for you tonight.
Right. And then catch Richie Giuliano live at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll have the whole thing, whole fiasco for you today.
Kaiser goes to Beaver Local, 7 o'clock kickoff there. Mike McKenzie will have the call as he always does from the Beaver Dam in Beaver Local. What do you think? I mean, Beaver Local obviously has a lot of momentum. I honestly don't know much about this Kaiser team that's coming to town. So Beaver Local, that 1-2 start, I think, kind of fueled them, and they've been on a run ever since.
It seems like any time these out-of-state teams come into town, our local teams take care of business. It's when it's the other way around, when we travel out of state, we don't have much luck. So I don't know. Maybe there's some correlation
There's
between
some juju on the border.
Yeah, there could be. All I know is after those first 2 weeks where Beaver Local had to take some on the chin against Indian Valley and against Salem, they've looked really good. And, I mean, you talk about what they did against Lyndon McKinley. You talk about what they did against East Liverpool. Now you get a home game against Kaiser, West Virginia. And then they play Oak Glen, West Virginia at home next week, too. So a few out-of-state teams, a couple West Virginia teams coming in. But Kaiser
right here, like Kaiser Crystal, like what the lightsabers are made out of. So that's what I hear.
Kaiser's 2-0 with a win against Robert C. Byrd, West Virginia, and North Star, PA.
North Star, that's sounds like
they even played an out-of-state team. So the West Virginia's playing PA and and Ohio teams. They're all over the board. But this might be
you can't play your own teams. God forbid.
I think for Beaver Local, this might be a chance where we could see them rattle off a potential 4 straight victories ahead of that Harrison Central matchup on September 30th.
We'll definitely see. It'll be a fun one for Beaver Local as they look to carry momentum from their big win last week against East Liverpool. Latonia travels to United, 7 o'clock kickoff. Chris Sigler will have the call with this one. Latonia's been struggling. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They've been one of the teams that have been trying to figure it out this year. United trying to bounce back. They kind of got beat up last week too. Valley Christian took it to them on a Saturday. So I'm going to be interested to see if Latonia is kind of the victim of the same victim that Campbell was last week, of a frustrated team coming into a game like this.
United, too, is in almost perfect position because they could take their frustrations out. They got Latonia and then Columbiana back-to-back at home. And if you're those teams sitting in front of the tracks with a train coming through that's called the Golden Eagle Express, it's tough. But, for Latonia, this is a chance, too, where you can try to go off of that loss that United had last week, take some notes, get that pencil out, look at what Valley Christian was really doing well defensively against the United offense. Obviously, execution's half the battle, but I think Valley Christian put together some really good schemes as well that really limited that United offense that was very dynamic in the 3 weeks prior that we saw.
Here's what Valley was able to do, because they do have speed on their secondary. They said, we're not afraid to come up and be physical with your receivers, because most teams get physical with United. Grant Knight's going to run right by them. Their receivers are fast enough to say, you're going to press us, we're going to give you one double move, and then we're going to go. Valley Christian does not have that downfall. Their secondary is perfectly athletic enough to come and press you and then not lose you in coverage. So that's what they did. They were physical with those receivers all day. They were bumping them off the line of scrimmage. They were taking them off their routes, and I think that's one of the reasons why their defense really held that passing attack from United in check.
And that's going to be one of the things that, United's going to want to get into check this week. And it's an opportunity against a struggling Latonia team. Like we've said before, Latonia looking for their first win, United looking to take some frustrations out.
All right, we'll go from that one to yours, Lewis J. Bennett from Buffalo, New York, coming to Austintown Fitch, 7 o'clock kickoff. Ty, not the first out-of-state team that Fitch has played. What can you tell us about Bennett? I know you've done a lot of research on this one. What can you tell us what this team from Buffalo brings to the table against the Falcons?
Really solid team from a year ago. Like I said, went on a nice playoff run. 11-2 overall was their record. They got Antonio Davis, their quarterback, that they're going to be bringing in this season too. He has a total of 446 passing yards on the year, 2 touchdowns and an interception coming into this game. You're also seeing a lot of really good, reliable runners too, as seniors as well. Hatchcock, one of them. Kareem Hatchcock has over. Let me get the total yards too. I don't want to screw him out of a couple.
Yeah, you don't want to short him. Come on.
Yeah, 244 yards. He's averaging over 120 rush yards a game in that department as well. He also has 2 touchdowns on the season. They also have McDuffie, another runner that has over 100 yards rushing on the season. In just 2 games, they've only played this Lewis J. Bennett team. But they also have a really good receiver, junior receiver, in Jameer Thomas, that looks to be one of the primary targets, averaging 122 receiving yards a game, 245 total on the season, and 11 receptions and a touchdown on the year. It seems like another team similar to Fitch that can do a little bit of everything. They can pass the ball when needed. They can certainly run the ball, have multiple runners. I'm interested to see how Fitch plays against this team that was really good for Buffalo, New York last year too. One of the best, had a nice playoff run a year ago. But we know teams are different too, but it does seem like they have a decent amount of returners. We'll see how Fitch does against their second out-of-state opponent this year.
That'll be interesting, and like I said, it's really hard to gauge these out-of-state opponents because we thought this Las Vegas team was going to come in and be really good, and they just didn't really look impressed on film at all. I don't think they did much against Fitch that really said that they were a really good football team. If you're watching from Vegas, I'm sorry, but you got your pants kicked in. So
Aaron Roseborough is one of the guys on defense. Already has 2 interceptions on the season too in the secondary, a junior for this Bennett Tigers team. He's going to be one guy you're going to have to watch too, especially when throwing the ball. Fitch hasn't had to throw the ball too much, and when they have had it, they've been really good at. Yeah, they've been keeping the completion percentage up. I don't know how many incompletions Deshaun Vaughn has on the season. I don't know if it's more than a handful or not, because he really, in all the games I've seen him in, he's been 100%. So
what's the cutoff line for a handful?
I would think 5, right?
Like 5.
Yeah, 5 incompletions on the season. I think that's a handful, right?
It depends how big incompletions are, because like I can fit like more than 5 pennies in my hand.
I was just going based off of the digits on your hand too. You got a handful of fingers. There's 5, I'd
The
say.
phalanges say 5. So once again, I think it's going to be, I expect Fitch to be Fitch. It's just going to be a hard win to kind of gauge again.
It is
with an like.
It's also.
Do you know how many points they're getting for it? Do you know if they're getting like D1 points for beating them, or?
Let me double check because I could bring it up real quickly on Joe Itel too. That's a great question.
Because when Canfield played last week against the Ontario team whose name escapes me.
Fitch will be getting Division 1 points for this, just like they did with.
I don't know if that's automatic on out-of-state opponents or not, because Canfield played that team from Canada. They got Division 1 points, and then obviously when Fitch played a team from Vegas, they got Division 1 points. Division 1 points again on
Division 1 against Canton, McKinley, and Glen Oak too. So that's what Fitch is really trying to get those computer points as well from Joe Itel. I think
they're still not the 1 seed.
Huh? Yeah, and
they're still not 1.
It's so tough in Division 2 to try to grab a hold of that 1 seed with just the list of teams that are in Division 2. But yeah, you're right, Ann. And this is the same situation as we saw last week, I think, with Canfield playing that out-of-state team from Ontario, where Fitch was playing a local team from Ursuline. And I said this, I think, on Monday's show, where you saw Fitch jump Canfield because of the local ties. You might see the same thing happen, but in the reverse for Canfield. If Canfield wins against a local team like Cheney, when Fitch plays out of state, the voters, I think, are going to be more apt to go for the Canfield Cardinals win than the Fitch win. So you might see Canfield retake first place after this week.
Here's an interesting question about the computer points, though. Normally you play a team in the state of Ohio, you get points for all their wins after you play them. Do we keep track of the wins that Bennett is keeping in Buffalo? Do they get points for wins? Or is it just you get the D1 points and you move on? I mean, that'll be interesting too. Do we give Fitch credit for wins that they're getting out of state outside of OHSA football? I mean,
Joe Itel only goes as far as like the teams that they're playing, I guess, near. And the Bennett Tigers played a New York team back on September 9th. Yeah, they played Clarence at home and they got their first home victory. So they're 1-1. Steve McDuffie, head coach for them. So I mean, it's definitely, I think, going to be interesting to see with that travel, because we saw Foothill have to make that long trip, and they seem like they were a little bit jet lagged throughout that too. And that's
understatement of the world.
But this is a little bit closer trip, but still a long trip though, because you're coming from Buffalo, New York. I'm curious to see how they're going to perform tonight.
All right, Ty. Next is the MVAC Scarlet Tier crown, not the crown, but the first place spot on the line. I should say share a first place spot because there's 3 undefeated teams right now in that tier. Lowville versus Jackson Milton. This is both these teams' time to shine, right? Lowville already knocked off Springfield. They're sitting in the top spot with 3 teams, but they can separate themselves from one of those 3 by putting away the Blue Jays today.
This is like, honestly, I feel like one of the, I'd say the biggest critic bowl, right? These are the 2 teams I feel like that has gotten the most criticism with their 4-0 starts through the first 4 weeks too. Because now even people are saying for Lovo, you get that win against Springfield. Well, Springfield still doesn't have a win, and that's a fair point. There are fair points on both sides, but this is a chance. 2 4-0 teams, we can see them lay it all out on the line, see how good these teams really are, and I think they've already proven they are, and really get to shut the mouths, I think, of all the critics that they have on the season too. And this is a chance to do that for both teams. Jackson Milton's been facing it, I think, since week 1, since their win against Latonia, and I think Lowville's done it since week 1 with Columbia, the win against Columbiana. There's always been those critics saying, okay, but those were wins against this team or that team. This is a chance. 2 4-0 teams going at it. Better team wins. We'll be talking about whoever wins this one for sure.
Lowville has to be shaking their head so hard right now because they're thinking to themselves, we beat Springfield, but now we look around, there are 2 other teams in the conference that are also 4-0. Like, I thought we were coming into this year, we just had to beat Springfield and it would be smooth sailing. What happened?
This is a chance for them, though. But with it being Jackson Milton is wild. They are wild. I have been to Jackson Milton before. It's actually not too far from Portage County, but Jackson Milton is wild. And especially when they have their good athletic teams, they get out, they support. Everyone in North Jackson is there, and they are making sure that they are in your ear, whether that's from the bleachers or from the stands in the basketball court. But
if they win this game time and they I think they might tip over the North Jackson Water Tower that's like 2 minutes away from the football field.
They might flat out Berlin Center. The Blue Devils might be in trouble. They might
Berlin Center gets flooded because the entire community of Jackson Milton tips over their water tower.
If they do so, you got to, I feel like, as voters for the power rankings, you have to look at Jackson Milton.
Do you just
can't
put them in
deny
the spot, or do you kind of put them in? And
I've kind of said it's Lowville's spot to hold in the power rankings until they lose it. And if they lose it to Jackson Milton, I feel like it's just to put the Blue Jays right in that spot.
I mean, their schedules are comparable. So if you're going to argue that Lowville is there right now, then you have to say, well, then if Jackson Milton beats them, in fact, I think Jackson Milton has a little bit of a better win over Newton Falls than Lowville has in the non-conference. So if you're going to say, I mean, I can't see saying that Lowville is 7 now and then seeing if Jackson Milton beats them, they're not 7. If there's a quality argument there.
Lowville right now is 5 in Division 7, Region 25. Jackson Milton is 6 or 8, I should say, in Division 6, Region 21. And the teams above them, Mineral Ridge is 1 above them at 7. Then you have Canton Central Catholic, who reminds you has losses against teams by the names of like South Range.
In Division 6?
Yeah. Valley Christian, Mogador, Cuyahoga Heights, Rootstown, and surprise, surprise, Kirtland.
Canton Central Catholic just beat Salem. And
They have a 2-2 record, and they're number 6 in Division 6.
You have to play, them and Kirtland both in the region and Division.
Well,
6.
they're the only team in the top 8 that would be hosting a team right now that has any losses, and they have 2. They're 2-2. Every other team is 4-0, with the exception of Mogador, who's 3-0. Every other team 4-0 in the top 8.
And we know Kirtland is world beaters. I think they're playing a Division 2 team this week.
Oh my goodness! If you want to just double check, they've beaten 2 Division 3 teams, 3 Division 3 teams, and a Division 5 team. Beat West Geauga, Lutheran West, and Painesville Harvey. Also beat Beechwood.
I think they got a D2 team this week. I think. I could be wrong.
D3. It's Geneva. And
D3 Geneva. Okay.
That Geneva team is number 8 in Region 9 for D3. 440 and Go Boys know a little bit about Geneva. That's a solid team up there. And it'll be interesting to see. They'll take a shot at the Hornets. Maybe they can answer the bell.
Lowville, Jackson Milton should be a fun one. 7 o'clock kickoff for you. Ala Caberna will be down there on the call for the Blue Jays and Rockets. McDonald heads to Sebring. CJ Schroeds, Noah Doty with the call there. McDonald has right in front of them a good chance to get their second win of the season. Sebring, like a couple other teams, they're just really struggling to put something on paper. Obviously, numbers-wise, the Trojans are just in a bad spot, trying to just put together a roster. Forget about putting a winning football team on the field.
McDonald has a realistic opportunity, though, with a win here to get themselves into a position to get into the playoffs with the second half of the season approaching. You could be 2-3. Right now, they're 20th. They're tied for 20th, but they would definitely, I think, separate themselves and get themselves into conversating place to get themselves into that top 16. Teams above them right now include Steubenville, Central Catholic, Western Reserve, Wyndham. And then Ashtabula St. John is 16 right now.
And Central Catholic just lost. So
yeah. So Central Catholic lost, and this is an opportunity to be jumped. Central Catholic with a 1-4 record, and Western Reserve 1-3 too. They're both the Blue Devils surprising in some of the losses that they've had.
Poland goes to South Range. DJ Oakley will be on the call there. 7 o'clock kickoff for this one. I don't care. I think Poland and South Range is one of those rivalries in the NE8. I think you throw the records out the window. I think this will be a good one.
It should be a good one. And you know what? Credit where credit's due. Poland has looked good in the last couple weeks. They've responded in both losses that they've had this season after a bad one to Chaney and a bad one to Canfield. They came out, win against Louisville, win against Hubbard. Two solid football
They
programs.
hope that trend doesn't continue tonight.
Yeah,
They
they
hope that
really
they
hope
lost by
that it
lots of
doesn't.
months.
But
But here's the bad thing for Portland, Ty. They're playing South Range after South Range played poorly.
really poorly too. Maybe one of the worst played games we've seen from the Raiders in the last 5 years.
And they still won by 10.
Yeah. It might have been one of the worst. And I mean, we've seen games that they've dropped in the playoffs, and I don't even think those games they've played as bad as
they were
played.
playing Kirtland. They were just overmatched. That's
Yeah.
all that was. They didn't play well against others.
And no, I mean that was, like I said, I think one of the worst performances we've seen from them. But like we said before, they're kids; they're gonna make mistakes. They showcase they're human, but now they can showcase exactly why they've been top dog.
They also showcase that they know how to win, even when they're not playing great, which is something that great teams do.
That's the big key. And
difference between good and great is, can you win when you don't bring your A game to the table? So I have a very hard time seeing South Range play poorly tonight. So if Poland wins, they're gonna have to do it against a tightened up South Range team.
This will be a huge win too if Poland does pull off a victory. It'll send them to 3-2, even though it's down a division for the Bulldogs. Talk about the type of confidence they're going to be riding with in the second half of the season if you are able to knock off the NE8's top dog in the last few years. That's a huge opportunity for Poland, who's already sitting with an 8 spot in a very loaded Division 4.
Our 4-4-0 in goal guys will be in Ashtabula St. John as they take on Pymatuning Valley. And anytime those boys get on a game, it's a good one. So you better watch because it'll be fun. We have Salem going to Padua Franciscan. It'll be Matt Mowry and Jared Niederheiser on the call there. They're making the trip with Salem. Salem trying to bounce back from a tough loss to Canton Central Catholic. And we've seen this Padua team. In fact, we've seen them look not too good against Ursuline, but a lot of teams don't look that good against Ursuline.
Yeah, Padua's actually 1-3 on the season, and a Division 3 team playing up a division for Salem. So it's an opportunity for Salem coming off of that loss against Canton Central Catholic to get right back into the win column. They're still number 4 in Region 13, and they want to keep themselves in one of those top spots. So a win here could definitely help that case.
Definitely could. We have Springfield going to Middle Ridge. I think this is a sneaky good game. A lot of people still sold on the Tigers, even though they're the 0-4 start. They still think that Middle Ridge might be the underdogs in this game. You think Middle Ridge is sick of being told they're the underdogs?
Yeah, I mean, Mineral Ridge has been constantly, it feels like, told that they're the underdogs, but they're number 7 right now in Division 6, Region 21, and they've looked good in the first few weeks. The most points they've allowed was 14 to Newton Falls. Other than that, they've allowed 28 points total on the season. Like I said, half of them coming to the Tigers. But this is a different type of Tigers team that you're facing now, right? This is Springfield, and we talked about Crestview being the best winless team. I think that award now goes to the Tigers right now because they pushed Lowville for everything that they had in that game, and they pushed a really good Brookfield team for everything that they had. They're looking for their first win on the season, and I know Coach Guerrero and I know those guys do not want to be talking about an 0-5 start, and they're going to be doing everything they can to prevent it. Mineral Ridge, though, you go 5-0 in this one too. It's just another feather in their cap too, and it gets them a little bit more respect as they still will have matchups with both Jackson Milton and Lowville in the second half of the season.
Kig Silac will have the call from Middle Ridge there, 7:00 kickoff as the Tigers come to town. Struthers at Hubbard. This should be a sneaky good game. Jamie Thompson and David Williams with the call there from the Eagles Nest. When you talk about Hubbard, yes, they lost to Poland. They kept it close. But the other 3 games that they've won this year, they've just found ways to win. They've found ways to win. The Struthers was on the other side of it where they've been able to be in games and find ways to not win. So that's why I'm not, shock. Spoiler alert, I picked Hubbard. Our picks will be in the power hour, all of our picks. But I feel like Hubbard's making more game-winning plays.
They have, but you can't undercount this, count out, I should say, the Struthers Wildcats team because they looked really good. against Streetsboro, and it was just that last play that was unfortunate. And their defense looked really good against South Range as well. And, if you can get those guys to execute like they've already proven that they can against some really good offenses, execute defensively against a Hubbard team that maybe isn't as dynamic offensively, it's an opportunity for the Wildcats to defense to give that offense, again, another opportunity to win the game. Let's see if they're up for the challenge and they can answer the bell.
They need a win. They need it bad. So they'll try to get one on the road in Hubbard. Jamie Thompson and David Williams on the call there. Uniontown Lake goes to Louisville. The Leopards still looking for that win.
Yeah, and I mean,
Ty just got booted out as we talk about Louisville and Uniontown Lake. Uniontown Lake, a team that comes in, they're a good team. Louisville's schedule is ridiculous. Let's just be real. Louisville's schedule is not something to be toyed with. Ty, we lost you for a minute. What'd you do? Run away?
Yeah. Now Louisville got their first win against Northwest back on week 3, going in 1-3 on the season. It's a 4-0 though Lake team, so it's a tough challenge to answer. But if they're able to do so against another Division II really good team, that'd be huge for the Leopards to build some confidence.
All right, we go into Ursuline traveling to Warren Harding. This game is always good. I know Warren Harding is 1-3. Harding's played a tough schedule just like Ursuline does. This game's always a good one. Last year it was bonkers. A couple of kick returns. I think Ursuline actually had not a walk-off kick return, but a late go-ahead kickoff return that kind of sealed the game. This one's going to be nuts. I promise.
Their losses too in Harding have come to a 4-0 Hudson team and a 3-1 Massillon Washington Tigers team, as well as a 3-1 Medina team, who are all tops in Division 1 and 2. Some of the top teams in each of their respective divisions and regions. For these teams, though, for what I'm looking at, Ursuline, yeah, they're going to be looking to bounce back after that loss, but so is Warren Harding. Both these teams coming off of losses last week. Both these teams wanting a win in their respective divisions. But for Ursuline, right now, they're number 9. They want to get themselves back into that top 8 talk. They want to get themselves those home playoff matchups, too, because I think those mean extra, too, when you can host those first couple rounds. But for Harding, I think the biggest key for Harding, you look at where they're at in the playoff contention too, and they're down at 22nd, tied for 22nd. They need a win, and they need wins badly to get themselves in position. It's going to be a dangerous Raiders team that Ursuline's going to have to deal with. That's going to be playing with a bit of desperation. It will make for a good football game, though, I tell you, and that's what I'm excited for.
You don't want to play a desperate Warren Harding team, that's for sure. Warren JFK, the other Warren team, goes to Marlington this week. Dom O'Brien heading up to make the call at 7 o'clock from the Duke's place. JFK's been keep it on. Nothing really, nothing stopping them so far.
Yeah, they've just been tops. They're number 1 in Division 7, Region 25, and they hold it by a lot of points. By over 3 points in the average between them and Toronto, which is the second team in the division. So I think that might be one of the biggest gaps between 1 and 2 in any region. And that just goes to show why. Because you look at JFK's schedule, they opened up with 3 straight wins against Division 5 teams, and good Division 5 teams at that, as well, with champion Delta, Garfield, and then they just beat a very good Division 4 team, in Perkins last week. And now they got to play Marlington, like you said, to play the Dukes. Marlington's been struggling. They're 0-4, but the big thing is they're a Division 3 team. So the win for JFK is just going to add more to their point total, and that's why JFK dominates like they do every year.
First team on the slate that has a losing record, I believe, for Warren JFK in their schedule. So
you're absolutely right.
It'll be fun to see how much they're able to kind of put their foot on the gas against Marlington. West Branch goes to Howland. This game was close last year. Howland gave West Branch a real big test, but this year Howland's offense kind of struggling to find playmakers. West Branch's offense is not, to say the least. They are not struggling at all. They won 38-14 last week. It was the first time in 38 games that Ridgewood had given up more than 30 points. So they broke a streak for Ridgewood, and they continue their 30-plus game streak of scoring 20 or more points. So West Branch's offense has been on some kind of tear for the last that would be 3 decades, not 3 decades, 3 years. So here we go. West Branch offense takes their merit to Howland, who's been a defensive team. So we'll see if they can hold down West Branch. This is actually a high-scoring game last year.
West Branch's schedule kind of is almost laying out perfectly. They got 0-4 Howland, 0-3 Minerva, 0-4 Marlington right now on the slate before 3-1 Alliance, 3-1 Carrollton, and 3-1 Salem. So
that's going to be a knock on them in the power rankings, though. I feel like they've been hanging on by a thread, and I think
they have been.
People are holding them in just because people know how talented they are. But with more and more teams getting more and more big wins, how long can West Branch hold on playing winless teams
until week 7, 8, and 9, or 8, 9, and 10 when they start playing those really good teams? How about Alliance too, looking really good as well, 3-1 on the season? But yeah, this Howland team. And when I was talking with Coach DeShields, not Penny actually, but Walt DeShields too, when I was at West Branch for that volleyball matchup, we were talking a little bit, chit-chatting about this football game that happened last year. And of course, I wasn't there, but Walt was. And Walt was talking about how Howland did a really good job physicality-wise, not only with the line, but just in the receiving course, just really doing a good job matching that physicality that West Branch usually brings and bringing it themselves. And because of that, they were able to force a close game. Now, Howland lost a lot of those big names that brought that physicality last year, but you saw the blueprint, and there's still plenty of guys that were a part of that game, whether they were on the bench or on the field for some time. They know kind of what that blueprint was of how they were able to compete with this very good Warriors team. Again, if you're able to execute that blueprint, should be able to have a similar result where you can definitely compete with this Warriors team.
And now we go to the final one that'll be on the network. Western Reserve goes to Waterloo. Aaron Moser will be on the call. The Vikings are on a hot streak right now, and the Blue Devils are kind of in need of a win. This could be a very sneaky, interesting game on the network as well.
Both these teams need a win, and this would be a huge win for Waterloo too, getting 2 consecutive conference victories and setting themselves up with a 3-2 record in a tough conference too. I mean, a tough conference and a tough division that they're in. They're in Division 6, Region 21, same one as Kirtland. They're at 17, right on the outside, looking into the playoffs. You know that down a little bit is Western Reserve as well. And they're looking to get themselves back in Division 7. So for the Blue Devils, they're looking to get themselves into playoff position. So is Waterloo. This is a game that has a huge implication on it for the second half of the season here in Week 5, because 1-4 is almost a detrimental start for the Blue Devils. Super hard to come back from. But 3-2 definitely looks a lot better from the Vikings' eyes than 2-3 does for Week 5.
And that concludes the games that are going to be on the network tonight. Head over to ysnlive.com/live to see all the links. You can also check out the Audible call at 7 where we'll flip from every game on ysnlive.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, champion football with Joey Fell and Nick Vesey to close out the show. Should be a couple of fun interviews. And we'll be back with them on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. you'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. You've seen that my name down there has turned purple, which means we're heading into the champion. That's all that can mean. And we're going to talk to their quarterback right now, Joey Fell, who has been putting on a show this year, last year, doesn't matter. One of the great quarterbacks in the area. Joey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You guys have, like Anthony said, you guys have been on some sort of tear the last couple of weeks, but I kind of want to rewind back to the first 2 weeks. You had two tough games. You played a tough 4-0 Rootstown team. You played a tough 4-0 JFK team, and you took some bumps in both those games, but you looked good at points. What did you learn personally from those first two losses that you were able to incorporate and come back with 2 wins in a row?
Our team never gives up. We're always, after that loss to JFK, we came back. Everyone prepared to get healthy, and we just kept working hard at practice. Our coaches get us prepared, and we just made us successful these last couple weeks.
How much did that Rootstown game really lock you guys in and hit a reset button almost? Because it feels like after that Rootstown game where you guys had a win in your grasp, you came back, you beat a very good Southeast team, and you beat them up, and then you get a good win last week against Newton Falls. So was there kind of a reset button hit after that Rootstown game?
Yeah, because we thought we had that game, and then second half happened, and we all, as soon as they took the lead, we just kind of put our heads down. And Southeast week, we came out hungry, and we didn't want to let that one get out of reach, so we put up points quick. And
I want to talk from players' perspectives too, because I was really impressed how you guys were able to lock in so efficiently against Newton Falls after giving up that 99-yard run too. And it's a tough thing to come back from. Those are momentum-changing plays. Being one of the senior leaders, what are you telling your guys to? What are you telling your defense after a play like that to try to help them stay locked in? Because you guys were still in that ball game and you ultimately came out on top.
Let's just tell them to forget about it and move on to the next play. And our coaches preach that too, and we can't let that play get to our head because that's just going to bring us down and not put us on top. And we put it behind us, and we got right back to work.
Last year, you were one of the guys that got 1,000 pass yards, 1,000 rush yards. It's hard to one-up that, but great players always find ways to get better. What were some of your goals personally for the season, and what were some of the ways that you wanted to improve your game going into your senior year?
I wanted to get my footwork right, and I want to take our team to the playoffs. And haven't been here and champion for a while, and we're trying to change the program, make a new culture here, and that's one of my main goals is to make the playoffs. And I got my brothers around me to help me.
I appreciate you trying to take care of the brothers that are around you too, because when you were reached out to, you were adamant about we need to bring on Nick Vesey too. And I mean, looking at what Vesey's done, he's been up there with the rushing yards, just under 500, tops in receiving yards as well. He's been one of the top guys too. How much does his play help open things up offensively for you as a quarterback and kind of take pressure off your shoulders?
It's amazing because they have to key on him and my talented receivers too. And he just got moved there week 2 against Rootstown, and he put on a show at the receiving spot as well. But he's just an all-around great athlete, and just brings so much more that we can do to our offense.
So we've seen Champion put out many different uniforms throughout the last 2 years. What's been your favorite uniform that you guys have been able to put on so far in your career?
I like the white on purple combo. I think that's what we might do tonight, but the white on yellow and purple on yellow didn't look too bad, but those yellow pants, I don't know.
Wow.
talking with Coach Conrad like we did before the season, he seems like he's very much in the analytics of the game. He's very smart, has a very high IQ with the game. So I know he's definitely talking about with you guys about this Vikings team being a trap game. 0-4 Vikings team. It's a team you can't overlook. What are some things you guys are talking about in preparation for this LeBray team tonight?
We just gotta go in there, play our defense that we put out for the week, and go out there and play hard, and don't let the 0-4 record fool you, because they're a pretty good team, and that's what we've been preaching all week.
What coach has made the most impact on you throughout your career and helped you grow the most, do you think?
I mean, all of them helped me grow, but the one is Coach Naylor. He's been with me since I was a little flash down at the CLF program. He's been my quarterbacks coach in high school, and he's helped me out tremendously with my footwork, helped me out with reads and everything. He's just been with me the whole way.
Now, you play both sides of the ball, and I know you also got an interception, some tackles. You're Mr. Do-It-All on the football field too. When you have to lock in defensively too after an offensive drive, is there a mindset shift that you have to go through from playing offense to defense? And if so, what is that like to changing sides of the field and being able to play sides so effectively?
I mean, playing defense kind of helps me offensively, like to see what DBs do, like me, like what I do, and helps me read the defenses too. Because what I do, some people might do the same things, and it just helps me read the defenses.
Playing both ways, you're able to do a lot of things. You're able to get tackles, you're able to get picks, you're able to throw touchdowns, run touchdowns. What is the best feeling on the football field? Is it a big run? Is it a big pass? Is it a big pick on defense, a big tackle? What gives you the most juice on the football field?
I say that interception gave me some juice, but the big plays on offense give me a lot of hype and gets the team going momentumly.
You just seem to go with the flow too, man. I mean, the stats week to week. It's whatever the team needs, and I respect that too. You guys looking to go 3-2 to set yourselves up too, and I mean that 3-2 record would set yourselves up nicely for second half of the season. What are some things and some takeaways you've had from this first half of the season 2-2 record ahead of this fifth game too that you want to look to improve on going into that second half?
We just want to improve on finishing games. That's what a big issue was last year too, and we don't want to have that issue happen this year. But it happened in Rootstown, but we put that game behind us. We don't worry about it, and that's the one big thing that we were focusing on is finishing those games like we did at Newton Falls. We finished that game really strong, and we came out with the win.
Let's get to know you a little bit off the field with some rapid fire questions. If you could own any car, money wasn't a factor, what car do you think you'd want to get?
Ooh, probably I like probably a Lamborghini Huracan. Those pretty sweet rides.
What's the go-to color? Like, what's the best color on a car?
A Carolina blue.
Oh, there you go. Okay. What's one thing that you spend a lot of money on that you probably shouldn't?
Definitely random sports equipment set. Like I have a bunch of cleats in my locker. Probably spend money on those, but yeah.
Are you superstitious with your cleats? Or are you like, if I wear this one and we win, I got to keep these ones on until we lose?
So for practice, for week to week, I have like a pair of just regular cleats, and I just wear those. And then for games, I bring out like those bright orange ones. I haven't taken those off, so we're winning with those on. So I gotta keep those ones.
Do you have any other like superstitions or routines pregame that you have to stick to?
For me, that I don't like to listen to music for pregame. I like to quiet. I like to stay focused. I don't like anything making noise around me.
So when you do listen to music, what's your personal playlist look like?
Probably just a bunch of rap, like Polo G, all that.
Do you have any like guilty pleasure songs that like maybe not the coolest to listen to, but you still bang to them?
Kings and Queens by Ava Max. So it's a pretty good one.
What about kind of guilty pleasure desserts? What kind of things do you like to put in your body when you're treating yourself?
I do that on a daily basis. Put brownies, cookies, every day.
Who makes the best dessert?
Ooh, probably my grandma. She makes some good no-bake cookies. They're pretty good.
What teammate has the best house to hang out at?
We always go to Nick's house. We always go there, just chill and watch football, and just chill out with the boys. His parents were really cool too.
When you watch football, what team are you really the most passionate about watching?
They're really not on TV as much. Coastal Carolina, that's my favorite team to watch.
Really?
They basically run the same offense we do, and just look at what they do. But Ohio State, hometown team, home state team, and they're pretty fun to watch.
So did you fall in Coastal Carolina because they ran the same offense as you and you started to watch them? Is that how it started?
That and their quarterback Grayson McCall, he's fun to watch, and he's basically like me, I think.
He's name dropping Chanticleers. I like it.
Yeah.
When you look at some of the role models that you've had over your life, what names kind of stick out to you?
Definitely my parents. They keep me passionate and keep me motivated to do stuff. They make me go out and work hard, make me work around the house, make me a gentleman, and make me the person who I am today.
That's on a personal level, but what about maybe in the athlete level? What kind of pro athletes do you look at and try to model your game after?
I like Braxton Miller. He's my all-time favorite player. I love him a lot.
I like it.
That's a good pick. I can dig it. Jerry,
one tie?
Yeah. I wanted to ask too, because this is interesting. I like to ask too, though, the multiple sport athletes, because you're in your senior year. I know you play basketball. You're into baseball too. You play all the sports, but this is the first of your last seasons, right, at the high school level. How's the feeling like going into senior season now, realizing that it's the last of the first? And what are some future goals, I should say, after this season with champion?
It's gonna be sad. Going into the last season, thinking it's your last year playing high school sports. It's gonna be a feeling lifted off your shoulders. But I'm going into college, and I got 4 more years to play. So.
All right, Joey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Good luck tonight, and best of luck the rest of the season. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
All right, thank you.
You got it. That was Joey Fell, and we're going to have his teammate Nick Vesey right behind him. But what a great leader for that champion team. Where's the number 8 for a reason? I get like Troy Aikman vibes a little bit when I see a quarterback wear number 8. I know some people like the Steve Young era, but I get more Troy Aikman vibes when I see number 8. Who do you see when you see 8?
Oh man, there's been a few great number 8s in history, hasn't there been?
Yeah.
Troy Aikman's a good one, though. I really feel like if you want to go legendary, I don't know if there's in the sport of football at that position. Is there really anybody more legendary?
Nick, welcome on. Let's bring you in the conversation. When you think about guys that have worn number 8 in football, who do you think of?
I think of Lamar.
Okay.
Modern touch. Hey, that Joey's got that kind of touch too. He can run, he can pass a little bit. You seem to be the recipient of a lot of those passes, man, and you also seem to be the recipient of a lot of carries too. You're a huge centerfold in this offense. Talk about just that mentality of doing whatever it needs to take offensively. It seems like no matter where they put you, you're cool with it.
I just want to win, and so I want to do whatever I can for the team, and I just make it happen.
Game days, you guys get to wear the jerseys, which I think is so cool. It's one of the things that the other athletes don't really get to do. You don't see basketball players wearing their jerseys on game days. What's it feel like to you as a football player to be able to have that honor and wear your jersey on game days?
It just feels like a blessing because I get to represent the school and the team and get to show out. Just people know I'm on the football team.
You got 5 touchdowns on the ground. You got 1 that you've caught through the air. Like I've said, you've been a centerfold on this offense. What is your mental preparations like going into game day too? And do you realize what you're going to be doing primarily too? Is that scouted out for you? Is it just kind of felt out throughout the game plan that this is going to be more of a running day, or this is going to be more of a I'm going to need to catch some balls day?
Mainly just like as the game's going, we just realize if that's working, that's what we're going to stick to. And If it's running, we're gonna run the ball. If it's passing, we're gonna pass the ball. Just whatever happens.
What's your favorite thing to do on the football field? Do you like the receiver aspect? Do you like to run the ball? Are you more of a defensive minded guy? What's your favorite thing to do?
I don't know. I've started to like running the ball a little bit more.
We were talking a little bit about the numbers, and we talked about number 8, but I see you got the double deuces there. Is there a reason you got you wear number 11? Who's some inspirations, and what's the inspiration behind number 11?
Well, at receiver, I was like Julian Edelman. He's small, he's slot receiver. That's how I was, and I was like basing it off him. And so that was just my inspiration for being one.
You made Ty happy. He's a Patriots fan, so
I'm cool with that. That works for me. I'm cool with that. And a Kent State boy too, so I can't hate him.
Right. When you look at this team and what you've been able to do this year and the leadership that you've had in this locker room, we asked Joey that Rootstown game. What were some of the conversations after that week to turn this season around, get the big win over Southeast, and then get a win over Newton Falls last week? What were some of the conversations internally during that week after the Rootstown game?
We were just like, we gotta play as a team. We gotta play for each other. We have to have that one goal in mind that we want to win and make it to week 11. We want to be the best that we can be.
What about Coach Conrad that you take away from is so inspirational that you like so much about his coaching style? Because we've heard a lot of good things about him. I liked when we got a chance to talk with him prior to the season. He seems like he's very entrenched in the game. He knows a lot about the game. What are your takeaways from him as a coach?
I mean, he does the work. He puts more time in than any of us, and he loves the game. And he loves that we're willing to play for him. And he's just a great guy, and he knows what he's talking about.
What is your favorite thing to do during game day in the routine? Is it the getting to the stadium? Is it the warm ups? Is it the actual game? What's your favorite part about the game day prep?
Just getting ready for the game, getting the jitters a little bit, but then those all go away after that first snap, and it just feels amazing.
What about the atmosphere in Champion and the game day atmosphere on a Friday night? What's your favorite part about that and hearing the crowd behind you?
Just I don't know, just the whole everyone just into it, and it's awesome to be around.
It seems like both you and Joey are very much lead by example type seniors, and that you both play defense. You're both prolific on that. You're both very big centerfolds in the offense too. What were some of the biggest things you've learned in your journey in becoming a leader from freshman to senior year that you utilize now with the younger kids?
What I've learned was, as a freshman, I had leaders that they would lead and they'd also do it on the field too. So you got to be able to do it on both. You can lead by example in the locker room, but you got to be able to back it up on the field. That's a real big point, and if you can do that, they'll follow you.
Who are some of the guys in your early stages of your career that taught you how to lead and kind of were role models for leadership for you on teams prior?
My brother, Noah, he was a big part into showing me how to be a leader. Even Austin Wilforth, those two were probably the biggest supporters of me. And they just showed me the way and how to do things and how to be a winner.
You're on your way to a big season, and I'm sure, no doubt, that you're going to inspire tons of young kids in that champion program that are going to look up to you and say they want to be just like Nick Vessia when they get older. What's the advice to them then, man? What's the blueprint of how to have the success you've had in the program and get to where you're at in the sport?
Just work hard. Put the time in, put the work in, and it'll come. And if it doesn't come automatically, just wait. Trust the process and putting time in the weight room, in the game plan, in the playbook, just really benefits you.
And you're putting up the numbers, like Ty said before. You're becoming one of the big names in this champion program. Have you signed any autographs yet? Signed any autographs?
No, not yet.
No, we're going to have to change that, man. Okay, so you look at this champion athletics department, so many successful programs throughout the sports seasons. If you had to pick one athlete throughout any sport of champion that you need an autograph for, who are you going to get?
Joe.
He's going right. I mean, that's fair. It's another three-sport athlete too. You guys have just kind of been putting champion sports on your back too, and I kind of want to ask that same question that we asked Joe too about it being your senior season, because I mean, you now going into last football season as well. How's that feeling like for you too, realizing that it's the last season with your high school team too?
It's sad, but I mean, it's the last ride, so we got to give it our all, and it's can't wait. Just this season, just so exciting, but it's so sad at the same time. But I don't know. It's the big moment. It's the big year.
The jersey swap has become a football culture spot. You got to play against a lot of good athletes, a lot of great guys. If you could jersey swap with someone that you play against, who would you run to and want to swap jerseys with?
I don't know. There's a couple guys. Probably Isaiah Jones from Brookfield, a guy. So I'd probably go to him first.
There's a lot of great players too that you could take a lot of things away from, mimic from in certain cases too to improve your game. But a lot of athletes I know also like to set themselves apart from each other. So in saying that, what gives Nick Vesey a competitive advantage that you believe over your opponents going into game day?
I mean, I'll work hard and I won't give up. That's what I think. I mean, we're down. I'm fighting hard and I'm doing whatever to come back.
All right, Nick, before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to shout out your support system and the people that are always there for you throughout your career.
Mom, Dad, thank you for always supporting me and being there for everything I do. And thank you, and I love y'all.
Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I know it's game day. You know, you're feeling it. We appreciate the time. Good luck tonight. Good luck the rest of the season. We look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thank you. See ya.
Nick Vesey and Joey Fell going back to back, and I think we're going to see them match up a lot tonight in their game over LeBray. A team, like they said, you can't look over LeBray. They gave a pretty good fight the last 2 weeks. They're a proud program that's coming off a year where they're the 1 seed in Division 6. So you can't look over the Vikings and champions that are still go in with a lot of juice tonight, and I think they have a really good chance to win and go 3-2.
I think too, with what you look at from Coach Conrad, like I said, he's one of those guys who he's not going to let this team overlook this LeBray team. He knows just how dangerous they can be. He's been a part of it, and I love what he does. What he's doing with that program too, and he's got a chance right now to get him to 3-2 and really have a good-looking set on the next half of the season for potentially getting into the playoffs.
And like when our names go purple, we're going into champion, right? It's purple people eater country for champion, and we're proud to have those two guys on. Those are two great leaders and two really big reasons why champion is sitting where they're sitting right now as a football program. Actually, every program, because they're both multiple sport athletes. So you look at all their success and all their athletic programs, they've been a big reason why the last 4 years. Want to go over real quick before we get out of here as time is winding down what to look forward to on Saturday on the network. Cardinal Mooney will go to Lutheran East, and that'll be a 12 o'clock kickoff. Cardinal Mooney's been close. They haven't been able to really get that momentum going. I know they have the 1 win on the season, but they have a couple of losses that they've had in their grasp. Lindsley last week, they had a 14-0 lead at halftime. Couldn't hold on, 28 unanswered points. So they're looking to just finish games that they're close into winning and be that team that has a winning culture.
We're excited for it, too, and I'm excited to see Cardinal Mooney try to bounce back, too, because they're still very much alive in playoff hopes.
Boardman will travel the East and look for their second win in a row at 2 o'clock kickoff from Rain Stadium. Donnie Riccatelli will have the call for that one. And then last on Saturday night scheduled for football, we have Lisbon at Valley Christian. It'll be Rick Daly and Alec Caberna tag teaming that, as we'll have one voice from each team in the press box at Camel. So that'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff. Volleyball action on Saturday. There's a tri-match at West Branch. I will be at between the Warriors, Hubbard, and Middle Ridge. So we'll have a 10 a.m. game with Hubbard and West Branch, an 11 a.m. game with Hubbard and Middle Ridge, and then a 12 o'clock game with Middle Ridge and West Branch. Should be a fun try match for
Would
sure.
be a great try match too, and well done, sir. I'm excited for it. Mineral Ridge West Branch. They did it just by ending with that being the match.
After last night, and then I got to see West Branch again, and I'm just gonna say this, like, I'm gonna say Samantha Allett is the best setter we have in the YSN family. We have a lot of good ones. It's a bold statement. I know there are good ones. I'm gonna just say I think Samantha Allett is the best setter we have. And
Mineral Ridge is, all that is good. And I mean, to talk about West Branch, though, I got a chance to see them for the second time this past Tuesday. They're a complete team like they usually are, and they're deep in all positions, whether that's setter, whether that's outside hitters, whether that's libero. They're deep. Reagan Green-Eisen is a phenomenal libero. She seems to get a hold of everything too defensively, and that's going to be interesting. This is a huge test too for Mineral Ridge, but they've been up to every single one that they've had to answer this season, 10-0 right now.
Claire Brunner is something else too.
You gotta realize too, Mineral Ridge football and volleyball not lost a game yet this season. They've both just been winning. It's been nothing but great times in both.
By the way, their golf team's 14-4, so their golf team is
not experiencing many losses over there in Ram Country.
We'll also have volleyball from the Potters Fieldhouse as Chris Ziegler goes to East Liverpool as Salem comes to town. And then the last volleyball game of the day will be between Struthers and Ursuline as the Irish travel to the Wildcats Fieldhouse, the Struthers Fieldhouse, I should say. Bob Zanny on the call there. Also exciting on Saturday, we will have the Spartan Invitational, our first dip into cross country that starts at 9 a.m. I think there are a couple of breaks in between runs, so it will be about 3 or 4 hours of broadcast time, but our boys are putting in a lot of hours on Saturday to make sure this gets off. Donnie Riccatelli, DJ Richie Quinn, they're all heading down there. I think it's like the 7th largest cross-country event in the country, the Spartan Invitational.
It's huge. A ton of schools go there too. And I remember from when I was in high school too, a ton of schools participated in it then. I can only imagine how much bigger it's gotten.
We'll also have boxing, the rise of the gladiators.
That's wild. We got boxing on the network on Saturday.
Put up your dukes, man. Boom, boom, boom. We're giving you a 1-2 punch. 5 o'clock will be the time for that. That'll be kind of the Saturday cap. All the stuff will be going on earlier on the day. We have morning cross country, morning volleyball. Your last football game's on at 7, boxing on at 5. Should be a fun Saturday as well. So have a lot of fun Friday night, and then that'll be your appetizer for some volleyball, some boxing, some cross country on Saturday, and obviously 3 more football games as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. 4-0 and goal gonna have it too. What exciting voices to put behind some boxing as well.
I would want no one else to have our boxing debut. Those are both debuts. We've never had boxing on before. We've never had cross country on before.
Yeah, so add some more feathers in our cap, notches on our belt, and more things for the
Pretty soon we're going to be looking like Big Bird with so many feathers on our
head. But also, too, we also thank all of our local sponsors, too, for being able to bring all these games, all these sporting events to you for absolutely free of charge. And we want to also remind you that if you want to become a sponsor for any of our shows and or games and or the main site, ysnlive.com, go to our site page, ysnlive.com/advertise, and you can get a hold of all those packages and find the deal that fits best for you.
We want to thank Joey Fell, Nick Vesey, and Mike Colapi for coming on the show today. If you missed their interviews, they will go up on our YouTube page. You can head over there. And while you're over there, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss a minute of the video content that we put up on our YouTube page. It's pretty much daily. We are putting up, whether it be post-game interviews, coaches' corners, player profiles, game highlights, anything that's video content that we put up also goes up on our YouTube page, including replays of the entire show. So if you want to watch the entire episode of Running Point, head over to YouTube. You can do it. Or Power Hour or Casual Sports. They're all on our YouTube page. Make sure to get over there, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, show us some love, as always on YouTube. This is going to do it for Running Point. It was a great show on a Friday. We have a great lineup for you on Friday night as well. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3. Power Hour Super Show. Coming on at 3 to 4, where you'll hear all of YSN Family's picks and where we think these games will be leaning. That should be fun. And then, of course, we have all the games on the network tonight and Audible Call also at 7 o'clock. Head over to ysnlive.com/live to find the links. It is completely free, like Ty said, thanks to our wonderful sponsors at YSN. We're taking a 70-hour break. Me and Ty will be back on Monday to recap all the weekend's action and more on Running Point. Brought to you by